Hi everybody, this is Angie from Tourangie.com, and this is the parking lot of the Princeton Walmart. I'm pulling out and taking a left down Greasy Ridge Road. I did a video a few months ago about Greasy Ridge. It was a horrible video just because of the rain. You couldn't see much for most of the video. So this is the day that I'm redoing it, but I'm doing it in reverse. So right here ahead of me is the rest stop here. It's like the West Virginia Rest Stop Tourist Information Center. It's, of course, we're in Princeton, so we're about 10 miles, 9 miles in off of Interstate 77 into West Virginia. And it's here off this exit off of 77. As you can see, 77 is right beside me. And this is Greasy Ridge Road. Like I said, I had did the video a while back and it was raining through a lot of it. Was not a good video. Well, today at least there's blue skies. The only problem with blue skies is the sun. Sometimes there is a glare from the sun. With my cell phone being my video camera and the glare on the glass, there will be, you can see it some right there. There's obviously going to be some sort of glare. But this is still a much better video than the video I did the first time around doing Greasy Ridge when the rain came and I had no clue it was going to rain. So originally this video started here at the top at Princeton and it's going to end at Ingleside, the road that takes you to Oakville. Now, originally, like I was saying, I had done it before. I did the opposite. I did it in reverse. I started at Ingleside and I came up the mountain to Princeton. So most of this video, yes, I'll twists and turns and curves throughout and going up a hill here and there, but a lot of the video will be going downhill. And this can be a pretty scary road for some people. Especially when this 2-lane road turns into 1 lane and you have to pull off to the side to pass cars or whatever. In fact, in this video I do pull off to the side once just to let a car get from out behind me because I tend to drive slower on the roads just to get a better view with the camera. So this is Greasy Ridge Road. If you've new to my videos and different things and you're curious where this road goes, well, it takes you to Ingleside, so stick around. It's going to be about a 15-minute video probably. It takes a little while to get down this mountain, but we're going to talk about some of the roads, mostly stuff that we talked about in the other video. It's just I wanted to do justice of having a better video to talk about with. So there are several roads that cut off to the left or to the right. There is a White School Road because there was a school on the road at one point in time. It's also known as Elmore Road. And Elmore is what I have always referred to this community here. Honestly, it's a last name for many people that lived in this area at one point in time. But there is an Elmore Cemetery. And there are a few cemeteries on this road, but the Elmore Cemetery has 48 burials with people with the last name of Elmore, obviously. Taylor, Swim, Neely. There's several names buried at the cemetery. It's a cemetery from about the 1800s. In fact, the earliest burial shows a birth date on the tombstones, 1830s. So a lot of the burials happened in the 1800s, early 1900s, but there are still burials that happen there today. In fact, there was a burial there in 2015, so not too long ago. So that is why I've always referred to this area as Elmore, because of the cemetery, Elmore Road, and all of that. But there are several little roads with several little cemeteries. There is also a church called the Union Church. You'll see it just right off the side of the road on the left as I'm driving by on Greasy Ridge Road. But there is also Well, I mentioned the Elmore Cemetery. It's on actually Deerfield Lane, but there's also a Miller Cemetery and Palmer Cemetery. It's off Dan's Road. But there's a lot of little cemeteries over to the left or to the right in this area. This is a community. This is not just a little road. This is a community. Now, over on, I guess it would be the right. Not right here, but as you start to go down the mountain, there's a little creek. It's called Harmon Branch, and it actually flows into the East River. Now, we will be facing the East River as we start to go downhill. You'll be able to see it, the East River Mountain. It's some pretty decent views on this road of East River Mountain. So look for those here shortly. You can see right there, there's a tall cell phone tower right up ahead. But there is also something that is really neat, and it is a train trestle. There was a train trestle that went to Princeton, where the railroad went to Princeton. It crosses this road closer towards the end of this video, but it's a really nice sight to view from driving this road. The rest of this video is going to be dedicated to Mary Draper Ingalls. She is a very important person to the area just because of the historical significance of her being kidnapped and her escape and her walk back to the area. Now, the area that she was kidnapped from was Draper Meadows, and that's closer to Blacksburg. In fact, part of Virginia Tech's campus is actually where, actually the duck pond of the campus is actually where this all took place. But there are several different accounts of the story. None of them specifically from her, but her son wrote a historical account in 1824. The son of Mary Ingalls and William Ingalls, born in 1776, and it was about after Mary's return. It was his account. It was called The Story of Mary Draper Ingalls and Son Thomas Ingalls. And it was written at the age of 58 based on the stories he had heard from his parents. So there's a little bit of some of the information, and some other information was from Letitia Preston Floyd. She was the wife of Virginia Governor John Floyd and a daughter of Colonel William Preston, who was a survivor of the massacre at Draper's Meadow. So there are, several stories, several different versions, but still basics of the same thing is known as historically correct. But she was kidnapped by the Shawnee Indians after the massacre and forced to walk to basically Kentucky, the Kentucky-Ohio border. It mentions Bone Lick, and Bone Lick is just south of Cincinnati, right off of the interstate. So that is a huge distance to walk, obviously. And it was the Shawnee Indians, and then she did do an escape and come back. So Ingleside, well, first off, let me stop there. Look at this mountain view. That's East River Mountain right there, and a beautiful, beautiful view. Anyway, so Ingleside is named for the Ingalls family, and whether it was the Ingalls who have moved to this area after the massacre back in the day, or just because of Mary Ingalls, I could see this being somewhat of a route the Shawnee Indians took. It's possible. I don't know this for certain, but I could see it. There is roads or trails actually in Hinton, the Hinton area, that are definitely Mary Draper Ingalls trails where she did walk the New River. So I could see more likely she walked the New River, closer to Parisburg area and not here. So it's possible there was something to do with her walk up here, but I feel like it's more probable that it has to do with the Ingalls family, and that's why it was named Ingleside. Uh, just some family members who maybe moved to the area. You can see right here, I'm just pulling off the side of the road to let the car off, let the car pass me that's behind me. I drive slow on these mountain roads, mainly for the camera view. I mean, sure, I want to drive safe, but the camera view for sure does better when I'm driving slow. So let's talk about Mary Ingalls, or Mary Draper Ingalls, and the massacre and everything. So, first off, Mary was born in 1732 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and her parents were immigrants from Ireland. Between 1740 and 1744, the Draper family moved to the western frontier of Virginia, settling around Pattonsburg on the James River. According to John P. Hale, in 1744, George Draper, which is her father, went on an exploratory trip into what is now known as West Virginia and never returned. Although there is evidence that Draper was still alive in 1748, by 1746 his family established Draper's Meadow, a pioneer settlement in Blacksburg, Virginia. So in 1750, Mary married William Ingalls, and they had two sons prior to Mary's captivity when the massacre happened. Thomas Ingalls was born in 1751 and George in 1753. 3 daughters and a son were born to them after Mary returned from captivity. So on July 30th of 1755, during the French and Indian War, a band of about 16 Shawnee warriors raided Draper's Meadows and killed at least 4 settlers, including Colonel James Patton, Mary's mother, an infant niece, and a neighbor called Caspar Barger. They took 5 captive, including Mary and her 2 sons, her sister-in-law Betty Robertson Draper, and her neighbor Henry Leonard. Mary's husband was nearly killed, but he did run off into the forest. So he fled, and he was not killed. He escaped. So the Indians took their captives up the New River into follow the Ohio River for a bit, and to travel to the lower Shawnee town, which was located near the Ohio River. And they then separated Mary from her sons, who were adopted by Shawnee families. According to John P. Hale, Mary's oldest son Thomas was taken to Detroit. Her sister-in-law Betty was taken to what is now Chillicothe, Ohio, and her youngest son George was taken to an unknown location and died soon afterwards. I'll stop right there. Wasn't this cool right here? Just driving under this train trestle and seeing it in the video. I just love that. That's one of my favorite parts of this road. Anyway, we'll get back to the story. One source states that another captive, Mary's neighbor, Henry Leonard, later escaped, although no details were given. So, October of 1755, Mary Ingalls escapes. She takes another captive with her. They escape, start running through the woods. They had asked the Indians if they could go into the forest and pick some grapes, and that's when they escaped. It was a treacherous journey, crossing the rivers and creeks 145 times from up there at the Ohio-Kentucky border area near Cincinnati to come all the way back down to Blacksburg. Now, at about a month, Mary Ingalls' friend that left with her basically tried to kill her, not once, but twice. Mary had promised her money to help her if she helped her get to Draper's Meadows. And basically, due to starvation, that woman just said no and tried to kill her. Mary escaped that and kept continuing on, and she made it home. Well, that's all I have to talk about. This is Angie from Tourangie.com. Come to my website, read my blogs, and make appointments so I can help you plan your next travel adventure. Talk to you later.